Hello everyone. This is Vijayasri working as an assistant professor in MLR Institute of Technology under the department of CSIT. In this session, we are going to discuss about data types. Overview of this session: data type, types of data types, primary data type, derived data type, enum and void data type. First is the data type. So here data type specifies two things. One is what kind of data we are storing in a variable, what kind of data we are storing in a variable, and how much memory is allocated to that variable. So let us suppose here we have a is equal to 2, a is equal to 2, where a is a variable which stores a value 2 in it, which is of type integer. If I want to store a value like 2.5, then in a variable, 2.5 in a variable, then this is a floating point in which we have to use a data type called float to store this value. Then if I want to store a character value like A or B, this can be stored into the variable called C, which is of character type. So not only that, what kind of value we are storing in a data, it also tells how much memory is allocated to that value. So in C programming language, we have some predefined set of data types to handle different kinds of data that we are using in our program. Types of data types. The types of data types are classified as follows. Those are primary data types, derived data types, enumeration data type and void data type. Primary data types are also known as predefined data types. That means their meaning is already predefined in the system. Then derived data types are arrays, structures and unions. These comes under derived data types. Then enum data type. Enumeration data type are the user defined data types. These comes under user defined data type. Not only enum, we can also use a data type called type def, which comes under a user defined data type. Then void data type. Then coming to primary data types. Primary data types are also known as a basic data types or a predefined data types. Predefined data types means built-in. That means their meaning is already defined in the system. So primary data types in C language are classified as integer data type, float point data type, double data type and character data type. Integer data type, here we use to store that values, integer values, we will use a keyword called int. And then this will not take any point values. That means like this, if you want to store these values, we have to use a float. But here in integer type, we cannot, this is not allowed to store. It can store int a is equal to 2. This is allowed. But point values are not allowed to store under an integer data type. Then the modifiers of this are, int is having 4 modifiers: signed short int, unsigned short int, signed long int and unsigned long int. The size of the integer data type is 2 bytes. 2 bytes means 1 byte is equal to 8 bits. So if we declared integer value to a variable a, the memory which is allocated to this a is 2 bytes. So here we can store the value. The format specifier for this is %d. And then long int size is 4 bytes. The format specifier for that also %d. But if coming to the unsigned, if you observe for signed short int, it can take from minus to positive, -32768 to +32768. But coming to unsigned short int, it starts with 0 to 65535. And the format specifier used for unsigned int is %u. And unsigned long int is %u. Then Example on integer data type. If you observe here, we have integer A, B, C. A, B, C are the 3 variables which I declared in integer type, and here A is given a value 10 and B is 20, C is equal to 45. So these are all integer data types. So to print or to scan the value of integer type, we have to use a format specifier called %d. So here already I assign a value for these variables, and if I want to print the values, here I am using %d, which is a format specifier for the integer type. So integer data type is %d, 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 because A, B, D I want to print the values. So format specifiers here I specified, then I gave the variables also of that type. Then we have a floating point data type. Floating point data type can take a decimal value. That means if I want to store any point values like 2.5 or 5.5, then we have to declare these values in a data type called float. Then it is having two variants, float and a double. So is a keyword float to represent floating point data type and double to represent double data type. Both are similar, but the difference is the decimal places. If we declare any variable is a float variable, so it can take decimal points like 2.555 up to 6 decimals. If I want more than that, then we'll go with a double type. If I want to store 15 to 16 decimal places, that means after point I want a 15 to 16 decimal places, then I'll use a double data type. Then sample program on float data type. Here I declared two variables, float A, float B and float C, 3 variables which they are used to store a point values. Then float data type format specifier is %f. So the size of that float data type is 4 bytes. Then format specifier is %f. For double, the size is 8 and the format specifier for that is small ld. And for long double, the size of the data type is 10 bytes. And the format specifier for that is ld. Then if I want to print these float values which already I assigned to the variables, then we have to use a format specifier called %f. So %f, here I gave 3 format specifiers which represents to the variables A, B, C. Then next is the character data type. Character data type which is used to set of characters that must be enclosed in a single quotations, like if I want to store a value called A. So this I'll assign to the another variable, let us suppose that is ch. It is a character type that must be enclosed in a single quotations. The data type of that is char. In this way we have to declare. So the size of the character data type is 1 and the format modifiers of that character type is unsigned char, where the size of that is both signed and unsigned are size of signed char and unsigned char are of 1 byte. Then format specifier for that is %c. The difference is the range. If it is a signed char, the range is in between -128 to +127. If it is an unsigned char, it takes 0 to 255. Then sample program. Here I declared character B, which is a B is a variable which is of type character. C is a variable which is of type character. So here I assigned a value to that variable is T, which is a character type. So that must be enclosed in a single quotations. If I want to print the value which I assigned to the variable B, then I have to use a format specifier called %c, because %c represents to the data type character. These float integer, float, character, double, these are the basic data types, or we can say predefined data types, which their meaning is already defined in the system. Then we have a void data type, means nothing or no value. Generally we use this void to specify a function. Then we have a enumerated data type. Enumerated data type comes under a user defined data type. That means it consists of integer constants, and given to that each integer constant is given to a name. So where we use a keyword called enum. Enum comes under user defined data type, which we can give an integer constant, and each integer constant is given a name. Then we have derived data types. Derived data types are also known as secondary data types. Derived arrays, structures, unions comes under derived data types. Then summary of the session is, today we have discussed about data types. Types of data types, those are primary data types, then derived data types, then we have discussed about void data type, then user defined. In user defined, we have discussed about enum, enumerated data type. In the next session, we'll discuss about operators in C. Thank you.